XRP is fascinating. The community has cult status very similar to Bitcoin, and XRP is pretty much the only OG cryptocurrency, the only OG altcoin that was able to keep pace with Bitcoin's price development. Now in this video, we're going to look at data you've probably never seen before. We're going to look at the XRP dominance. So we're going to look at relative valuation charts of XRP to other cryptocurrencies. We're also going to look at XRP's supply development over time. And last but not least, I want to investigate. Let's say we bought the XRP dips over time. Would we actually have been able to outperform Bitcoin? Now have a look at this here. This is the top cryptocurrencies on the 29th of December 2013. At number 1 is of course Bitcoin. At number 3 is XRP. Just have a look at those prices. Bitcoin was at $745. XRP was at 2.5 cents, a bit above that. And since then, XRP 100x'd, and so did Bitcoin. Now today, XRP is still at number 3, but this list here looks very different to 2013. You might still remember Litecoin, but probably you already forgot about Omnicoin or Peercoin or NXT, Memecoin, Quark, BitShares. Then there's also WorldCoin, but that's a different WorldCoin to the one that we trade today. The landscape has clearly changed. Only Bitcoin and XRP was able to prevail. And so that's the long-term XRP US dollar chart on a logarithmic scale. So on such a scale, not the US dollar differences are constant, but the percentage gains are constant. So this over here is at 10x, and so is this. On a linear scale, it's the US dollar changes that are constant, right? That's then how that chart looks like. Now there's a good chance you've never seen this here. This is the XRP dominance. So this measures how much of the entire cryptocurrency market cap is in XRP. Or in other words, how important is XRP relatively speaking? At its peak, 29% of all of crypto was XRP. At the bottom, it was 0.3%. But isn't it fascinating how there seems to be some kind of a range? We don't fall below 1% anymore, and everything above 13% seems to be a limit where the air is getting thin. Now, since it's only Bitcoin and XRP that survived over all of that time, let's have a look at the relative valuation chart. So this is the XRP price divided by the Bitcoin price. The vertical line indicates the SEC lawsuit. Those losses have now been completely eliminated since the Trump administration is very pro-crypto. But again, we see an interesting range. There is some kind of a floor and potentially also a ceiling. And then the question is, of course, what's the time horizon? Medium term, we might be even closer to the ceiling. Now with this run of Bitcoin to 100k, XRP also hit a new all-time high. We went above $3, now we are back at $2.50, but the price went up, the market cap went up even more. Now why are the market cap peaks higher compared to the price peaks? The answer is expanding supply. XRP's supply grows relatively quickly. It grows faster than Bitcoin supply. In the last 10 years, the number of floating XRP expanded by 81%. Bitcoin, after the recent halving, goes up by only 0.8% per annum. So that's 10 times more supply issuance. Still, there is something very interesting. Imagine back in 2013, you didn't really like Bitcoin and you were completely in the XRP army, right? Your dollar cost averaged into XRP instead of into Bitcoin. And let's make it easy. Let's say we bought $1 every single day. Where would we be if we did this with XRP versus if we did this with Bitcoin? The result is very counterintuitive. We start our backtest on the 4th of August 2013. XRP at the time was at 0.6 cents. Bitcoin was at $118, and we go all the way to today. During that time frame, XRP made a 421x. Bitcoin, on the other hand, made an 827x. So 2 times more roughly compared to XRP. Or in other words, the additional risk that we took on by buying cryptocurrency number 3 versus cryptocurrency number 1 was actually not compensated for. However, check out the following. This is a simulation of buying $1 every day for Bitcoin and for XRP. Now the blue line is simply how much we invested over time. This is again a logarithmic scale, so it's a 10x with each of those horizontal lines. And the portfolio value that we would have had with Bitcoin is here, this orange line. The portfolio value that we would have gained with XRP is the gray line. There are points in time where XRP outperformed, there are points in time where Bitcoin outperformed. But even though during this entire test period, Bitcoin made twice the return of XRP, if you did the dollar cost averaging with XRP instead of with Bitcoin, you'd now be at 480,000 versus for Bitcoin only at 370,000. How is that possible? Isn't that strange when over the time period the asset did not outperform Bitcoin, that if you bought $1 every day, you actually would be better off doing XRP versus Bitcoin? The answer to this puzzle lies in volatility. If you can buy an asset that is very, very volatile and you can be certain that the asset will stay around for a long time and that over time it will appreciate, then the volatility is really a feature, not a bug, because the volatility enables us to sometimes buy at very, very cheap prices. So the more volatility we have, the better it actually is for dollar cost averaging. And that increased volatility can be that much of a benefit that in the end the portfolio will even outperform compared to an asset that's less volatile but that actually did better. Let's go back to this chart. The reason why XRP was able to outperform here that much is simply because there was more time to buy low. And the same is true for the recent run up, right? XRP was lagging behind for a very, very long time. Now it recovered from the lawsuit and now it's above Bitcoin. Again, this is XRP relative to Bitcoin, and this can outperform quite a lot, more than 10x during a bull run. Now, what does this mean practically speaking? Does it mean we should now dollar cost average into XRP, or should we dollar cost average into the next small altcoin, because small altcoins are very, very volatile, they go up and down a lot? Should we now buy the most risky of the altcoins because the volatility, if we dollar cost average in, will in the end make up even for worse performance? I'm not sure actually if we can do this, because again, the most important thing with that strategy is that we are certain that the asset will stick around long term and that it will recover at some point. And again, this is a big if, right? If you did not buy XRP, but you bought Litecoin instead, or Omni, or Peercoin, etc., then that strategy would not have worked. Bitcoin more than 100x'd since that day. Litecoin went from $24 to now $100. It only 4x'd. Omnicoin went from $180 to now $1.50. I think the main takeaway here is that the real money is made by identifying assets that we can believe in long term. This is basically how Warren Buffett made his money, right? He buys stocks that he believes will be around in 10 or 20 years. He buys into Coca-Cola, he buys into Bank of America, etc. He buys stocks that he thinks will prevail. One very famous saying by Warren Buffett is, if you cannot hold it for 10 years, then don't hold it for 10 minutes. The big question really for building wealth long term is what kind of asset will still be valuable 10 or 20 years from now, and then we should simply just buy into the dips, especially. Not necessarily now, right? XRP, for example, is now very, very high comparatively speaking. But if we've got an asset where the market overall has given up, but we have got strong enough of a conviction, we have learned enough about this asset that we know more than the average market participant, then we can buy those dips. But of course, the odds are not in our favor. So dollar cost averaging into 10 different altcoins does not make sense. You only want to buy the strongest ones, the ones that can prevail. Will XRP continue to keep pace with Bitcoin, given that its token inflation is much higher than Bitcoin? Who knows, right? It depends on how much continued demand there will be. In the grand scheme of things, of course, this doesn't seem to be the very best time to buy. XRP has seen its fair share of massive corrections, more than 90% corrections.
Here's the thing, the market isn't expanding as quickly anymore as it used to, right? With the Trump push, now the question is what can come that's even larger than that, that pushes prices even higher. And because of that, because it's more and more player versus player, even though the market in aggregate might be somewhat balanced, it's still just a few assets that outperform everything. Have a look at this picture. The tokens that are between 101 and 200 in terms of market cap, they in the last month went pretty much plus minus zero, right? They gained slightly. But when we look at this picture here, that's just because there are a few massive outliers. And the question really is, when we look at 100 tokens, how likely is it that we are going to pick Toshi or the Swift coin or AIC? Especially when we hold a diversified portfolio and we have, say, 5 or 10 altcoins, the likelihood is pretty high that that altcoin portfolio is going to underperform. Because if you held AI16Z and you made a minus 76% loss, or you held Turbo and you lost 40%, or you held Memecoin or Mu and you're down more than 30%, it's very hard to still have positive performance. And I'm a fan of trying to get the odds in our favor, right? It's possible to pick the winners if you are very early and if you adopt something like Trump in the earliest hours and if you are one of the top traders, that is possible. But if you don't have time to watch the crypto markets 24/7, or if you're not based in Asia, then it's very, very hard to get those winners all the time. And so why not go the easy route? Why not simply bet on falling prices? If most altcoins do worse than Bitcoin most of the time, and if there's just a few assets that outperform that massively, then we can just pick a random asset over here and we are very likely going to make money in the next month. We just have to make sure that we don't fall for those few tokens that are discussed everywhere. When we bet on falling prices of Chiliz or of Safe or of DYDX, and that's a comparatively safe bet. It's definitely still risky because this is the crypto market and the crypto market does get manipulated, but it's less risky than trying to find the needle in the haystack. And there are some tokens that underperform more consistently than others. For example, this one over here, Balancer. I started shorting Balancer in the middle of 2022. I went on and off about that position. Sometimes I was short, sometimes I was out of the market taking profit. But since that point in time, Balancer underperformed Ethereum by more than 80%. So it's not just that most altcoins do worse than Bitcoin. It's also that some of those altcoins underperform most of the time. And so I've made several videos on this topic. It's a comparatively advanced topic because it's also easy to get burnt with shorts. That's why most retail investors don't get involved in this. But there are premium tutorials how to win in bear markets by shorting altcoins. It's 42 minutes in length. Then there's another video gaining from relative valuations. Then there's another one shorting optimism relative to Bitcoin. This has been published quite a while ago. This, by the way, is now optimism relative to Bitcoin. So this was a good position. And the reason why most altcoins do worse than Bitcoin is tokenomics, as in more and more tokens get issued over time. And if the demand cannot keep up with the token issuance, then the price has to underperform the rest. Now, this is not a good strategy during a massive bull run, but it is a good strategy during a bear market, of course, but also during sideways movement. Because again, even during a sideways movement, money flows just into a very few basket of altcoins. Most alts do worse. And so this is all part of the premium membership of this channel. Premium is not just about shorting, it's also about on-chain analytics. It's also about portfolio management and risk mitigation. There's more than 100 tutorial videos in total in premium. Now, this is not a topic to make a 10x next week, but it is a topic to outperform steadily and slowly. And if you can only outperform, say, by 30 percentage points per year, and Bitcoin itself already grows by 30% per year, which I believe is somewhat of a conservative bet. Then if we do this over 4 years, and again, we don't have to trade very actively, we can 8x our capital. Now, if you have just a few $100 of invest, then an 8x within 4 years doesn't really sound that great. And then by all means, feel free to gamble with that money, right? Because you can also recoup the money very quickly just by working more, just by saving more. But if you've got already several years of your income saved up, or if you've got $10,000, $50,000, if you have more money, then an 8x does matter, right? 10K becomes 80K in a relatively okay-ish time period. And so I actually find it easier to make money in bear markets and during times like this. Again, because we don't have to pick the winners. We can simply have a diversified portfolio of short positions. Again, because most altcoins underperform Bitcoin most of the time. If you own a lot of altcoins and you hold them over 10 years, you're probably not going to do that well. Because have a look at the top tokens 10 years ago. How many of them do you really recognize? Paycoin, BitShares, MadeSafeCoin, NX XT. Yes, Stellar is still around, Dogecoin is still around, but where is Peercoin, Counterparty? Dash also underperformed Bitcoin quite a lot, so did Namecoin. So really the crypto markets are not venture capital markets, right? The crypto markets are very much player versus player, and it's better to simply bet on the vast majority doing worse most of the time. Not in a bull market, but most of the time. And I believe currently this does apply. Currently we are in most of the times. The crypto valuations are comparatively high. A lot of people made profit and took profit at 100K. And so if your portfolio is large enough, it's not just a few $100s, but it's maybe in the $10,000 and above, then feel free to check out the premium membership. It's currently $165 per month. There's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like premium, simply message me within the first week and I'll refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. If it's the first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you in the next video or see you in premium. Cheers.